All right. Fire 'em up. We go live in 5.
Proceed with the countdown.
10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4,
Make like a tree.
3, 2, 1.
Son of a bitch!
And here we go.
Meanwhile, in a basement in Northeast Ohio, 3 chuckleheads gather around a mic to make a podcast. That podcast is Real Rants, here on the Cosmic Octopus YouTube channel.
And we are back at Real Rants. We're going to do something a little different today. This is our Justice League review, but we're going to do something a little bit different. Instead of going through a normal review process, it's been out for a long time. We've all have seen it. Hopefully all of you have seen it. We're just going to go right into a spoiler, kind of talks about it, kind of have like what they call in the biz, a post-mortem. I can't talk.
They also can't see your air quotes.
I also can't see my middle finger right to you.
Or a powwow. How's that?
Yeah. We're going to discuss the movie, but obviously we're just going to discuss finer points of it too and go over it with a fine-tooth comb. I am sitting here with the man to my left. His name is Vern.
I am Vern. Hi.
You sound like 2 separate people there. And the man sitting across from me is... let me start that over again. I was trying to think of a funny intro for that, but I completely fucking botched that.
Just mulligan it.
And the man sitting across from me, you remember him from the Wonder Woman review. His name is Todd.
Hey, everyone.
All right. Well, that about does it for today.
All right, and we're good. All right, let's get out of here.
Okay, we're done.
Do we need to talk about Justice League again? Not like it was a bad movie.
No, it wasn't a bad movie. It
wasn't a good movie.
And that's what we're going to talk about. The bad, the good, the ugly.
Well, let's start off with let's trace this fucker back to its roots, and that was it wasn't necessarily Batman versus Superman. You could go all the way back to Man of Steel.
Man of Steel kind of kicked off the whole DC
that was
cinematic universe.
That was the opening kickoff to like you said, to the DCU, and it sort of set the template then for what followed.
Bad DC movies.
Yeah,
and one good one.
And bad DC decision making. Like I've said from when they did Man of Steel. I mean, it should even going back before that with when they were doing like Green Lantern. It never seemed like they had a plan in place. Marvel had a plan. Marvel, like they slowly started building. It all hinged on the success of one movie though, and that was Iron Man.
Right.
But they slowly built their empire from the ground up.
Legion of films.
Well, it just seems like once Disney took over Marvel, they just kind of blew up.
Yeah,
and they had a lot of people. What's his name? Kevin
Feige. But even because even you could go back because Disney didn't purchase Marvel until about. Was it a little bit before the Avengers? Because they purchased them around the same time they purchased Lucasfilm.
No, I think it was way before that.
Because the original movies, Marvel Studio movies, were Iron Man was Paramount, I think, and the Incredible Hulk was Fox. Because they were still Marvel Studios at the time was operating as its own functioning film studio, but they were using Paramount and I think 20th Century Fox, more so Paramount to kind of do their movies, and then Disney bought them and I can't remember when that was. I mean, not like it matters. We're talking Justice League here, but
It's
Let's keep talking about Marvel on the
Yeah.
DC review.
that shows you where this is going.
wow.
Fuck DC.
Well,
Just fuck
it
it.
just says Disney announced they were a deal to acquire Marvel Entertainment in 2009.
2009.
2009.
Okay, so that was after. I'm trying to think because
Because Marvel was kind of successful before then. I mean, one of their first successful ones was Blade.
yeah, but that was also 20th Century Fox too.
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah.
Marvel as a standalone studio, their first movie was Iron Man. Then it went to Incredible Hulk, and then Captain America. No, Thor. Thor, then Captain America, and then I think Disney.
They had a plan. I find it weird that we're still talking about Marvel. Although this is supposed to be a Justice League review.
You find it weird. I find it apropos because this is what DC has done to us. But no, around the same time. But I think DC just kind of rested on their laurels that, well, we have Batman and Batman. Batman at the time was taking off, but they didn't have a universe plan in place. This was just its own series.
Well, Batman was owned by Warner Brothers, so
Well,
Yeah.
DC,
Well,
in
DC in general
is
is
Warner Brothers.
all Warner Brothers.
And actually, that's probably where a lot of the problems come in, is you have
too many Chiefs.
Yeah, well, you just like Marvel is its own company now. I mean, Disney has them, but they're calling most of the shots. And you have DC, who kind of comes up with something, and Warner Brothers says, "No, make it bigger, make it more profitable, make it get dollars in our pocket." And I think that's a lot of the problem, where especially like you said, like Green Lantern. Stuff like that was just doomed to fail from the beginning because Warner Brothers, I think, were just down their throats so bad.
Yeah, and you're talking about two different studios when you're talking about not just Marvel, but who backs Marvel, and that's Disney. And you're talking about two studios, if you look at between Disney and Warner Brothers, with two different financial wells to pull from.
Yeah.
I mean, in comparison, it's like I would say like a man with like pocket change would be Warner Brothers versus Larry Dolan or friggin' or like the owner of the Cavaliers walking down the street.
Mad fat cat.
So
Yeah.
Walking down the
So
street.
we're basically talking about Bill Gates towards the average man.
Yeah, or look at it for simplest for me as a sports fan too. Baseball terms, you're talking about the New York Yankees versus like the Kansas City Royals. The one needs to be a little bit more shrewd with their decision making. The other one could take chances and fail, and still have money to fall back on. And that's where you look at you. That's why you get movies like Ant-Man, Guardians of the Galaxy. Those could have easily have failed, as much as they were successful. But they took the risk, and because Marvel's built up such a good name with the fan base, people. They liked what they saw. They're like, well, it's Marvel. It has to be good. And then they show up, they love it, and they keep going back. DC, on the other hand, builds up, I don't want to say animosity with a fan base now, but it's getting almost to that point because they didn't turn out for Green Lantern, regardless of how the outcome of the movie was. They didn't show up for it. The Man of Steel came out. It made money. But it critically and to the average film goer did not go over well. Batman vs Superman came out, same problem, and I would say, and that's where financially it started to nosedive because now people were like, "Shit! Well, look what they fooled me with fucking Man of Steel, and how grim that was." And then they do the same thing, and they have these two characters that have not an ounce of joy between them. And the movie just is all over the fucking place. It makes no coherent sense. And when they see the next movie is coming out by the same director, and I can't remember if it was the same writer too, but it's by the same guy. that they know fucked up the last two movies, they're not going to show up. And that's what you get right now, a movie that's only sitting at, I think, 400 million worldwide, 170 domestic, when it was shot for 300 million. That's not good.
Yeah, and
that's really not good.
You get an interesting thing too, is you also have them doing damage control after they've like done like an initial viewing, where it's like, people don't like this. Well, okay, let's take this just pile of planks and rusty nails and let's make a doghouse out of it.
Yeah.
And like you get like the whatever the hell happened with Suicide Squad.
Oh God, yeah.
Where it was,
I forgot about that one too.
Oh yeah. Oh, you can't forget about Suicide Squad.
Shit.
It's Academy Award winning.
In what parallel universe?
I think it was like costumes and design, but it's got an Oscar.
I'm still angry about that. I mean, I remember reading the original Suicide Squad, and I think they would have did a better job using them.
Yeah. So now you have Justice League.
Thuggish, ruggish Joker.
You have Justice League now, which is kind of the same thing, where people saw the original and they were like, this still isn't that good. And like Warner Brothers like, well, crap, now I gotta get something to like lighten the colors. Get Joss Whedon to make quippy comments.
Yeah, just get him to redo Avengers as much as he can.
So you had this weird clash even in Justice League of, you had these like super dark Zack Snyder moments, and then like right afterwards you had these like light Joss Whedon moments, and it was a really like,
it was a very odd juxtaposition.
yeah.
I'm trying to figure out how to save this movie. I mean,
How to save it, or here's a better question: could it have been saved? Because remember, that movie was it already half in the can when Batman vs Superman had come out? Because they were already showing trailers for it, like teasers.
see, I did not see Batman vs Superman, so I could not tell you.
You spared yourself. You want to stop this right now and go refreshing yourself up? I got the DVD upstairs.
No.
As much as, and that's another one. And here's the thing too. As much as we're trashing this current movie, I still enjoyed it. But like going back to what the question I posed you, I don't know if it even could have been saved. Much like Suicide Squad, when that movie was set to come out after Batman vs Superman, when that movie, I heard they had to go back and redo a fuck ton of that.
Yeah.
Because they didn't like the response Batman vs Superman got, and then they saw what they were about to serve up with Suicide Squad. Or did I say Suicide Squad? I meant they didn't like what they saw. Or Warner Brothers had to react after the way the audience reacted to Batman vs Superman, and they were about to give them Suicide Squad, and they were like, "Oh my fucking god, we got to switch this now. We got to inject more humor."
Yeah, but that also happened because of Deadpool, too, because they saw that Deadpool was this kind of upbeat but yet kind of dark movie, and it did very well in the box office. So when they saw that, that's when they decided they wanted to redo some parts in Suicide Squad.
You know what? Yeah, you are right. I was trying to think. Yeah, Deadpool came out before, and yeah, you're right. But and then I don't know. Then maybe I'm thinking of when the way the audience reacted to Batman vs Superman. They decided, well, now we got to go back and start like redoing some shit with Justice League because this isn't going to fly. And a lot of it did not fly. And like you said, there is weird moments where you're looking at a Zack Snyder kind of this earnest, grim fucking like palette of colors, and just it's like fucking like Francis, not to go all art school here, but like Francis Bacon threw up on a Dutch Baroque painting and then just drizzled in some fucking melancholy and sadness.
And then it went from slow motion to fast motion.
Yeah. And then all of a sudden it's like, woohoo! Like, we're happy.
And then all of a sudden,
I don't not like you.
Joss Whedoned it up.
Does that mean your favorite character is going to die?
Yeah, it means a horrible death for your favorite character.
Okay. So I mean, it's just one of those movies where I think it was much like a lot of DC stuff. It was ill-conceived. I think they tried to push it out the door way too fast because I think they saw the road Marvel was going, and I think they're hitting the fucking panic button, and I think that has caused. I think that's kind of caused them to self-destruct in a way.
Well, I've heard that they don't want their movies to be like the Marvel movies because the Marvel movies have some upbeat tones to it, and they didn't want that. Somebody wanted it dark and grim, and I'm assuming they wanted that based off The Dark Knight.
Yeah, they were just using the Batman.
They just were sucking more off the Christopher Nolan bat pole there, not to make a phallic pun, but it's the truth. I mean, Warner Brothers, I mean, say what you will, I mean, his movies made money and they're not bad movies. I like his Dark Knight movies.
I enjoy them, yeah.
I still think Batman Begins is my favorite. It's the closest to the perfect blend of his reality versus comic book expectations. When you had the fear gas and what they saw and everything, it still felt very comic book. The further that series went along, the more it had to be, no, it has to be serious, it has to be serious. When you have the director, and who is also the writer, saying characters that are in the certain rogue gallery characters or certain villains in Batman's rogue gallery can't be in my universe because it doesn't make sense, that's where I think he fucked himself up. When he said he couldn't have somebody like Mr. Freeze in his reality, well, sorry, that's a Batman character, and he needs to exist in that reality. That's where I think he went a little too far off the deep end with it needs to be hyper realistic, ultra fucking sad and depressing, and he fucking fucked with that Batman character so much, where giving up wanting to be Batman because his fucking girlfriend died. Give me a fucking break. But
yeah, at least Justice League and all that are fixing that. Like, you're fighting aliens and stuff now.
But it's on a cosmic level, which I did like about the movie.
Yeah.
Well, I like that they were starting to branch out more like that instead of trying to keep it so we're only fighting grounded villains and stuff like that. Start expanding out more.
Yeah,
like I said, start bringing in more of these other not, I don't want to sound like space creatures, but like you said, like Steppenwolf and the allusions to Darkseid. Like, start bringing in more of this stuff.
New God stuff. That's fun.
Oh yeah.
So and I think because they've embraced, they started off with Superman, which is like you can't just like Superman's an alien. You can't just ignore that.
Yeah.
So I think that gave them a little more freedom of like, well, we don't have to go completely grounded with this because the first movie we had like terraforming and aliens punching each other through gray.
Did you say through grain or gray?
Gray through just.
Oh, I was gonna say I like gray.
And browns.
I was like, yeah, and that's another one they fucked up because they brought in Christopher Nolan as the producer, and again they tried so desperately to make that a Christopher Nolan Superman movie. And I'm sorry, you can't make Superman a depressing character. He is supposed to be a beacon of light.
Beacon of hope.
A beacon of hope, a beacon of light. He's supposed to be the symbol of everything that humanity could and should be. And all I got from that fucking movie, from Man of Steel, was don't show people who you really are. Be afraid of everybody.
Let this tornado kill me.
Paul Kent. Paul fucking Kent.
Like, seriously?
Like Paul Kent saying, maybe you should have let that school bus full of kids drown because then you'll be safe. Fuck you, Paul Kent. That's fucking
you,
Superman.
Kevin Costner.
Yeah, and it wasn't even...
Go back to your tin cup.
Go back to your field of dreams.
Oh, wow.
Maybe that's where the tornado fucking deposited him. But no, but you guys know what I mean. Like, and it wasn't even Kevin. I was about to say Kevin Smith. It wasn't even Kevin Costner's fault.
No,
he was fine. It was just the way they wrote that character. It was so. And then it totally fucks up because I remember you telling me, Todd, It totally fucks up an important learning lesson for Superman. And I'll let you kind of explain it since you were the one who told me about how he can't save everybody, and they tried to do that with the tornado.
Yeah,
but he could save him.
Yeah, because in the comics, and I think even in
the original
movie, Pa Kent dies from a heart attack,
right?
Which is wonderful. Well, it's sad.
It's not wonderful.
But it's great because that's when Superman learns I can't save everyone because. How is Superman going to stop his dad from having a heart attack?
Yeah.
But you could move really fast and save your dad from a tornado.
Yeah.
I was so pissed off when I saw that scene. I was just like, "Are you serious?" He's telling him to stay. Just
let this weather overtake me.
Yeah, exactly. I'm like, seriously? Like, you have all this power as you can't move at super speed and call it a miracle?
Help me! Wait, you fucking tornado!
He eye tracks the Flash in Justice League.
Yes,
which means he is incredibly fast, but let the tornado overtake my dad.
Yeah. Oh no! It's like Austin Powers when the dude gets run over by the steamroller.
Oh
no! And he doesn't want to move for this fucking slow ass steamroller. Oh my god! Again, I don't want to keep going further back, but we have to establish the problems that have been laid before Justice League, and that part in Man of Steel. It started with there, and it grew even further. But you wanted to add something, sorry.
Well, no, I'm sitting up here thinking, is it the writing? What's making... Why DC can't catch up? Is it the writing? Is it the story? Is it the style? What is it?
It's certainly not the acting. The acting
is, to me,
sans Jesse Eisenberg. I don't buy him as Lex Luthor. Never have, never will. But it's not the acting. It's not even the style. I can live with the look of the movies visually. I think it's all story. It's all writing. When you write characters and a story with no heart, nobody's gonna give a fuck about your movies. And that was about your characters.
We talked about it when we were talking about Wonder Woman. Wonder Woman had
beautifully written.
Yeah, great characters.
Yeah,
you rooted for these characters. Mm-hmm. You're like even the characters that were so minor that you barely gave a shit about.
You cared about the supporting cast.
You cared about them.
Yeah,
and you didn't have that a lot in Batman, Superman, and
no,
it was just like you're like, okay, I guess I have to root for these guys.
And Wonder Woman, and there's a perfect example too. Where it's a me writing and direction. Color palette wise, Wonder Woman is very similar to Man of Steel and Batman vs Superman. It doesn't have a very bright color palette. I mean, maybe when they're on her home planet, not her home planet.
The island, Themyscira.
Yeah,
which I did not know how to pronounce until they said it in a cartoon or something.
But
Paradise Island.
But is Tattoo gonna be running around there? Boss, the chicks.
It's on the other side of the island. Yeah. Over there, a man is not allowed to touch.
But when she was on her island, the colors are a little bit more rich. Then when they brought her into the real world, man's world, everything looked very gray, muted.
It did.
Dire. And so the color palettes really weren't that different.
That's an interesting choice in general. This is when it makes sense visually.
So, and that's where I have no problem with that. The way they chose to do the color schemes, things were a little bit more muted. But the characters were great. They were well-written characters, and characters, like you said, we cared about. I didn't give a fuck about... as much as I like Superman, I didn't give a fuck about him in Man of Steel or Batman vs Superman. There just wasn't enough because of the way they set him up. Oh, you don't know this world of thing. Well, true, but the fuck he doesn't. I mean, there's just.
I may have to watch it just for the whole Martha thing.
Oh my god.
Because that's what everybody was.
What did you say?
Just so I can get the gag and laugh with everybody else.
Oh my god. The most stupid. I mean, if you could just see my face right now, I'm just staring up.
Breathe.
I feel like a meme, like triggered right now. It is the stupidest, one of the stupidest coincidences to exploit in any film. To say, and then all of a sudden become best buds after that. Hey, our moms are named the same thing. Isn't that fun? Now I'm your best friend.
You want to do karate?
Yeah, never mind the fact I was about to fucking kill you. And that's the other thing that I didn't like in Batman vs Superman, and they continued it over into Justice League. All of a sudden, Batman just wants to blow Superman. All of a sudden, he spent years wanting to kill him because, as he said in Batman vs Superman, if there's even a less than 1% chance that Superman could turn out bad, they have to take that as an absolute threat because he could wipe out everybody in the blink of an eye. Now all of a sudden, because their mothers are named Martha, he's like, we're pals, we're buddies. Do you want to be super friends? It is, oh my god. I can't. I wish they would have at least had still a little bit more of Batman's uneasiness with Superman. He has a little bit more trust in him now, obviously. But maybe he's not fully trusted.
For
yeah. Now all of a sudden he's like, I failed him, and I failed him. Like,
I kind of saw this
stop.
before when they talked about the movie. Like in the beginning, they pretty much give you the emphasis that because of Superman's death, that the world is. They're feeling something. The whole world's feeling something. There's like less hope in the world, and that's how the story began. Because they said, I guess the mother box was feeling this depression of the world. That's what
a very empathetic.
I got it.
So it's a mood box? Are we sure it's not filled with the slime from Ghostbusters?
And that's when they called in Steppenwolf, because it was just like. Now is the time to destroy the Earth because it's like it's at its most vulnerable. Yeah. So I kind of get that, and I kind of understand.
Demons that taste fear.
Oh, yeah, fear.
They look like they flew off the cover of a fucking Linkin Park album.
So I was like, "Where's the Yellow Lanterns if they're looking for fear?"
Yeah.
If they're going that route.
Step it up. They did have Green Lanterns in them.
Yeah, I was kind of surprised.
It was actually one of the things that I was a little...
Yeah, the whole...
Caught me by surprise, and I was a little happy to see.
Yeah, the whole story of the Atlanteans and the Amazons and men.
And miscellaneous.
It's always like, Atlanteans, and men. Manly men.
And when they explained that whole story, and it was like, they all got together to fight Steppenwolf, and Steppenwolf was like the big power. So
he was born to be wild.
I hate you right now. But it's just like Batman knew was something coming up, and now Batman's like, I effed up. We need this guy. So that's where I got that from, where he was sympathetic. But again, I did not see, Batman versus Superman. So
yeah, I would say see it. You probably get my gripe.
Yeah, you see it, regret seeing it, and then take things in Justice League into it.
Maybe take an antacid, something to help digest it.
After you're done vomiting blood for half an hour.
You'll be on the toilet for a little bit.
Tap the arm of it, whatever.
There'll be moments where you'll be crying, asking God why.
Wow. That bad, huh?
Okay, so we're moving. We're moving all the problems now that we've built up from Man of Steel,
festered.
That have literally festered under the surface from Man of Steel, Batman vs Superman. It now becomes the I don't want to. That's even a little too harsh to say it becomes the ugly zit that is Justice League.
The albatross.
Yeah,
What is it?
it's something that.
The Darkwing Duck of
But I mean, we have all these issues, all this baggage. I think a better term. All this baggage from 2 other films coming onto this one. I think if this would have been maybe the first movie, you know what I mean? Even though there's stuff that happened in films previous that needed to be if this had been the first, or even if this one had come out, if they never did Batman vs Superman, and this had been the second one, I think it would have been far better received. But I think it's just because of the ill will that people had towards the other two, sans Wonder Woman, because they knew Wonder Woman was different writer, different director.
As there was a complaint about the Amazons because the Amazons were all in sexy gear instead of armor, and I can't agree with that notion. If you're going into the big bad, I mean, why are you dressed in
chainmail bikinis?
Because they need something for young boys to fap to.
Are you allowed to say that?
I just did. But I mean that. I get it, but that's been Wonder Woman's outfit too for how many years? I mean, unless they completely change it.
No. I'm not talking about Wonder Woman's outfit. I'm talking about the Amazonian army.
Oh, the Amazonian army.
Yeah.
Okay.
Wonder Woman's fine.
I guess I don't know.
So that was one of the complaints that they were talking about, and I kind of agree with it. But they did say it was two different.
I could see the complaint.
There was 2 different costume designers, like one for Wonder Woman, and I agree. If you're going in a battle, you're not going to go in a battle like in.
It's like the memes from what was it, like World of Warcraft, where it shows like standard armor like on a female warrior princess or whatever. Then it gets the elite armor, and it looks like she's barely wearing anything. It's like, how the fuck does that like come like? But
I think what bothers me, other than the obvious just degrading of women, is the continuity. Just kills me. They need to have the same stuff.
Yeah, I agree with you there. That's like what's the warrior in Metroid, the woman
Samus?
Samus.
Oh, right.
That's like Samus, getting out of her armor to fight.
yeah. I'm gonna switch
Mother brain.
I'm gonna switch into my Ultra Gear, and it's just a fucking thong bikini. Like, all right.
So I know that was that was a chief complaint about that, and I kind of get that too. So not only
It makes sense, yeah.
I did like the music.
Oh, are you okay? So So now we're strictly on Justice League right now.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
Danny Elfman did a great job.
Yeah.
As he normally does. You can't find too much where you're like, ew, Danny Elfman.
Danny fucking Elfman.
Yeah. And I am so fucking happy that he brought back the old Batman theme.
Yeah, you got a few cues in there from like the old Superman theme.
Fuck,
was
yes.
the old Batman theme, and they used like the new Wonder Woman theme,
Right.
Yeah.
which is a badass tune to begin
I
with.
love Wonder Woman's theme.
The music wasn't bad at all in this. It was actually one of the highlights.
Fuck Zack Snyder and Hans Zimmer for taking away the Superman theme. Should never have happened. Never. That's like Indiana Jones without his theme, James Bond without his theme. You cannot replace what the Grand Master John Williams. You can't top what he did. Sorry, I know there's a lot of people out there who may be listening to this. Maybe all 20 of you that may be listening to this, that you actually liked the Hans Zimmer theme from Man of Steel and then Batman vs Superman. That's fine. I'm not saying you don't have to not like it, but there is just one, that's just unequivocally better, and one that's been synonymous with that character for decades. And then they decide to get so pompous and be like, no, that doesn't fit my Superman. That's your old granddaddy's pansy red booties and red underwear Superman. So I'm glad Danny Elfman brought it back. And I know a lot of other fans felt the same way too. I was going through YouTube videos and stuff, and they all felt the same exact way. Same thing with Batman. A lot of them didn't know the Batman theme because they were so used to the Christopher Nolan, like the 2 fucking notes that they used for the Batman theme. So a lot of them don't remember the Danny Elfman's March that he made. So, but I'm glad he brought that back. That's the one true Batman theme. It was used in 2 movies, the animated series, I think a few video games. So that's the Batman theme.
Which brings me to my next question. Right? DC is killing it to me as far as anime. I mean, animation. Thank you. As far as animation, their stories are a lot better than what the movies are. But I know some of their stories are based off the books. Mm-hmm. But I thought that the Justice League, this one was based off off of Justice League War.
A little bit, yeah. And I think because you have different people in charge there. Because you have like in the animation you have like Bruce Timm, right, who he oversees everything there, and a few guys above him, but they plant him down and they say make it good, and he's a fanboy at heart, so he does it.
He brings it. Yeah.
And you have especially lately after they said Zack Snyder please stop with these films, they moved Jeff Johns into kind of overlooking everything cinematically, which is why I think you're starting to see a little bit of an improvement as you get away from a lot of Zack Snyder's dark kind of stuff, and you get a little more. You get Jeff Johns, who is yet another fanboy who became one of DC's biggest writers, and you got him kind of overseeing a lot of stuff. So I think he's trying to veer the ship in the right direction.
So what you're saying is once they carpet bagged Zack Snyder, they're getting away from the suck.
Yeah.
Okay. I could.
That's a little bit of personal opinion by a million people, but
it's like somebody told them to go into this one direction, and this is the direction that we're going into. And now the direction isn't working because the people, the fans, are watching these movies like, we're not liking what we're seeing. What's going on?
Yeah.
Why do your stories suck?
Well, that goes right back to before when you were talking about how they don't want their films to be like Marvel's films. Well, I guess you don't want your films to make money. Sorry, I understand you don't want to rip off exactly what Marvel's doing,
right.
But to a certain degree, you have to look at what they're doing and be like, how can we do something similar? How can we maximize our characters and do the same thing? And if they're just unwilling to look at that and be like, well, we don't want to do what they're doing, then they've already lost half the battle right there. Because again, obviously they don't care about making money, I guess.
Yeah, because obviously Marvel has set a template.
Yeah.
And it's working for them. Mm-hmm. And if DC doesn't follow that suit, then they're going to end up losing more money. They're going to end up losing more fans. It's horrible, disastrous, cats and dogs living together kind of thing.
It's what Marvel does is they write good Ghostbusters pull there.
Glad we've gotten multiple ghosts.
We need a bingo board, different quotes, different movies on the board.
But no, if they don't, or what I was going to say, not that they don't. What Marvel does is they write good stories with interesting characters with heart that you actually care about, that you want to see pull through in the end. And that goes right back to what we were talking about before about give me some reason to invest in these characters and I will care. DC hasn't done that. Sans Wonder Woman. And I will say this: where they failed on it was what they've already did before with Batman and Superman. I liked what they did with Cyborg. I like what they did with the Flash, and I like what they did with Aquaman. And I think that's might be where you could start seeing a little bit more of this turn starting to happen. Now, because Justice League was so much of a Zack Snyder thing, and that was finished off, or was basically just capped off by Joss Whedon. I don't know how much he went back and redid or reshot. I'm not positive on those. But moving forward, I'm hoping that they take a little bit of what made those characters interesting in Justice League and keep them for their own movies going forward. We already know Aquaman's in the can. That's done.
Right.
Now Flash. I know, Todd, you're a big Flash fan.
Yep.
So I'll let you have your say on that character here in a moment. I liked what they did with him. Sometimes during the special effects moments, it looked a little hokey, him running. I thought at certain times they did it well. Like when they were in that, was it the missile silo? With the bat spider crawly machine thing.
Okay.
I thought that looked really good with the Flash, how it basically like bullet timed everything, and you could see him like moving through like the lightning bolts and everything and doing stuff. There's other times, like at the very end when he's racing Superman, where the fucker looks like he doesn't know how to run. But but that's tertiary stuff. As a character, I thought he worked, and I liked that they kind of kept him light, as a really good play off of the seriousness of Batman and Superman and even Wonder Woman.
His character was interesting to me because, like you said, I'm a longtime Flash fan.
Yeah. Even wearing
I am my Blue Lantern
the
Flash.
Blue Lantern
shirt.
Flash.
His character was almost a combination of multiple Flashes all at once. Because they had him as Barry Allen, but he had a little bit of Wally West in him, and he had a little bit of Bart Allen in him. Probably a lot of Bart Allen in him.
Yeah, because the whole practical Joker thing.
Yeah, and he was just, I just want some friends. Which was very impulse, Bart Allen. But overall, I liked this character. They took a cue from the DC animated universe, where the Flash is kind of the heart of the team. And so I didn't mind anything really that they did with the character. I thought it was a good character. He was likable. Like I said, he's kind of the heart of the team. It's cool to see a couple of the effects they did, like tapping Wonder Woman up her sword was kind of a neat little thing.
That was cool.
And like I said, the lightning, I feel, was a little overdone, but also kind of cool at the same time.
I liked when he went into the Batcave, and he's just all over.
Yeah, you
the
see
place.
him running around. You just see sparks and lightning everywhere running around.
And the moment I liked with him, and you alluded to it earlier. You mentioned it earlier, was when they dug up Superman. And Superman comes out of the ground not knowing who he is or what the fuck is going on. Very much as they alluded to in the movie, having a Pet Cemetery moment. And
I like that reference.
sometimes dead is better. But he comes out and he basically more or less just snaps and starts going after them.
He's just kind of angry and confused.
Yes.
Is the best way to describe him.
Typical superhero fight.
And so they go after Superman, and they do something very very stupid in leaving the mother box to be not guarded. But
take this MacGuffin.
But the part that you were alluding to that I liked with him is when all the superheroes are on top of Superman, and they're trying to basically pin him down. The Flash takes off and he's
trying to flank him.
And he's trying to flank around him, and he's going at Flash speed. And then you see Superman out of the corner of his eyes start, like you said, tracking him. And it's just turned and looked, and then he starts turning his whole head and looking at him. And the look on Flash's face was like, "Holy fuck!" Like, I love that moment in the theater.
And it was so funny because that's the moment that Superman actually considered him a threat.
Yeah.
And he just got the rest of the Justice League off of him and then went after Flash. And that whole scene was incredible.
And
Yeah, that was a cool little scene in general, and it was a kind of an interesting way because they bring Superman back with some hocus pocus mojo.
yeah, it's very.
It's science.
Yeah, you gotta use electricity right when the box hits the water. But so they had that, and it was that part was kind of whatever. But they had this just amnesia Superman, and it was a cool way to make Superman. Like, he's not a bad guy in that scene, but
he's almost the villain in that scene.
But he doesn't, like, his mind's all fucked up.
Especially when he's holding Batman by the cheeks.
Yeah, that just had to hurt.
Well, let's clarify, by his face, not the other cheeks. I mean, he had Batman's ass in that scene, but not literally.
But yeah, it's an interesting scene. It's kind of like it's a little bit of like, well, let's showcase how Superman is the strongest one here and why they brought him back. He just kind of whomps down on everyone.
We were discussing this a few days ago, me and Vern, and I'll bring this up to you, Todd. Do you think maybe they should have, because I think at one point they did say this movie was going to be 2 movies. It was going to be Justice League 1 and 2. Steppenwolf was going to be the villain of the first one, and then they were going to have Darkseid as the villain of the second one. Mm-hmm. Do you think maybe if they would have had time to restructure everything, do you think the movie would have worked as simply reintroducing Superman and having him as actually the villain? That you have to maybe not so much a villain where he's going around killing people, but being confused and actually being combative.
I don't
with
think so.
With the Justice League, and them having to try to basically get his mind right.
I don't think so because they built him up in the beginning as such this beacon of hope, and that another reason they wanted Superman back was so he could just inspire hope in everyone. And I think if they would have had him come back and be a villain, you would have just shot that message completely in the foot.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a family show.
Here's another question. Do you think they brought him back too soon? They literally.
I don't think they brought him back too soon, but I think they could have played out his revival a little better. And it's interesting because they almost got rid of a bunch of like plot threads that they set up in the other movies, and just kind of like, well, maybe people will ignore that.
See, this is the thing that kind of angered me, and I didn't know this because I didn't see Batman versus Superman. Is like I always saw the advertisements, but I didn't see Superman in any of the advertisements. So I was like, well, what the hell's going on? Mm-hmm. And I'm just like, oh. And once they explained in the beginning of the story and everything else, and then I finally caught up, and I'm like, I don't. To answer your question towards Todd, I was like, I don't think they brought him in too soon. I think it was a good timing.
Here's what I kind of what I feel about the whole thing. Just my opinion, right or wrong, indifferent. I just kind of feel this way.
You're wrong. That's
Fuck
okay.
you. Get out of my basement. I feel as though they brought him back a little too soon, and here's why. And because number one, they just killed him off in the movie before. And I didn't think his death really meant anything in that movie either. It's just like when we were talking about before, when DC was they're just pulling shit out of their ass and just throwing all of it against the wall and seeing what sticks. That was one of them. I thought they used the death of Superman a little too soon. I would have loved to have seen that played out maybe in a Justice League movie where they're fighting somebody like Darkseid who brings in Doomsday to specifically fuck up Superman, and then all of a sudden, oh my God, what are we gonna do? Darkseid's wreaking havoc. We have no one left to go to. But they didn't. So what? At the end of Batman vs Superman, when Batman's dead, he's in a coffin.
Superman's dead.
Did I say Batman?
He did.
Well, he should be dead too. Superman
Just murder them all.
just literally just line them up like fucking St. Valentine's Day Massacre. Superman's dead. Doomsday / Zod monster has killed him. Oh yeah, that's the other thing that'll make you just want to punch through a wall. Even though it's Doomsday in it, he is created from mutating Zod.
So do I really want to watch this?
The answer is no.
No.
But watch it anyway.
Watch it and form your opinion.
All right, fine. I'm going to break down and I'm going to watch it.
So anyway, Doomsday Zod kills Superman. He's in a grave, and right before the credits go, they pan down into the grave. You see Lois Lane throw some dirt on the casket. The camera pans down into the grave, and all of a sudden we hear like the music start building up a little bit, and you see the dirt start to levitate off of the coffin, and then it cuts to black. Now, what that tells me is Superman is slowly, even though he's dead, he's slowly regenerating back to life. What I would have loved to have seen in Justice League is when Flash and Cyborg have to go dig Superman up. That just sounds fucked up to say. When they have to go dig up his
That was kind of effed up.
As weird as that was.
It's so fucked up, but it's fun. And he's going slow, too. Flash could have just been like... But when they go to dig him up, what would have been cool is if there was an empty grave. Superman's already risen, and they don't know where the hell he's at. And they have to take on Steppenwolf alone. And then Superman either shows up at the end, or he doesn't. And that leads into Justice League 2, where he comes back to save the day against Darkseid and all his minions and stuff like that. I just think I think it's just the DC doing what they do best, and I think they just rushed through it, bringing back Superman.
See, I'm thinking, and
I like that they brought him back. I just think it happened way too soon.
See, I'm thinking, and I don't know if you read the book Earth 2. Have you read any of that?
I haven't.
Oh, if you get a chance, read it, because it's actually what happened to the heroes. The heroes are sort of brainwashed by Darkseid. Like it's Wonder Woman and Superman are actually working for Darkseid, and it's just it's one hellish nightmare after another one.
Horrific.
And I loved
very Red Sun.
Oh yeah, I loved it until they changed it at one point, and they changed the whole entire thing, and that's when I actually stopped reading it. But to that point where Darkseid, controls Superman, that was just, oh my god, it was delicious. It was just like such a guilty pleasure.
There's a bunch of good Superman's evil stories out there.
Especially Superman 3.
Well, even like in the comics, there's, like I said, there's Red Sun where he is like a communist. There's,
Oh God.
Instead of Kansas, he lands in Mother Russia. And then what else? Injustice.
I was going to say, even the video games, I think that's based off of a comic series.
Well, there's comics based off of the video game, actually.
Oh, okay.
And
that was pretty well done.
Yeah, and that's really good too. So like you can do
you can do a lot.
Evil Superman story pretty good. You just have to know how to do it right.
Go ahead. I was gonna bring up something about.
Oh no, I was just gonna say that off the comic Earth 2. This is one of the reasons why you should read it, because of the control. The people of Earth are trying to escape the planet. And Superman's like, wait for it, and he rips the plane apart, watching the people in the planes just falling to the ground.
Oh my god!
Dark. It's so horrific, and it was so delicious. My jaw just dropped like.
You did not see Batman vs Superman?
I did not.
Todd, me and you both saw it.
Yeah.
There's a scene in there where we get Bruce Wayne, he's asleep at his computer, and he gets awoken by
Yeah.
the Flash.
An allusion to Crisis on Infinite Earths.
Yes, where he's coming back in time to warn Bruce Wayne, and he says she is the key, and he brings up Lois Lane, that she is the key. Do you think we'll ever get a payoff to that? Or do you think that's just something that they
I
threw
think
in?
that's something they came up with and then they didn't think about when they made Justice League.
See, I thought, well, like I said, now I'm really gonna have to watch it. Cause
That's actually one of the most interesting scenes.
Unless, oh shit, that just made me think. And this might actually make this scene a little bit better. Sorry. What
I
if...
hate you.
Firing machine gun fingers at you. What? Okay, he came back and said she's the key in that. Talking about Lois Lane. What if that's what eluded Batman to actually bring Lois Lane to convince Superman
it could've
to
been-
snap out of it?
It's interesting because Batman kind of doesn't recognize the Flash. When
No, he
sees
doesn't.
him, even though he had this whole like crazy vision of him coming out of nowhere and screaming at him.
Because doesn't the Flash also say something like, "Oh, guy, I went back a little too far," or something like that?
And I think he warns him not to bring Superman back or something too.
Don't bring him back, something. But I know he specifically said she is the key.
Yeah, she's the key. And then you had
Maybe that's all the plot holes are people that are yelling about.
Maybe.
Because that's what I keep hearing. Is
Because
there's these kind of things that, like you said, with the dirt and all that. There's these things that like were kind of overlooked when they.
I would love to give them the benefit of the doubt and be like, they had that plan, and we're gonna find out that. And you would have thought they would have done it in this movie. Found out that that's why he brought back Lois Lane to snap Clark out of it. Because if he didn't, we would have gotten this Steppenwolf Darkseid planet with Superman. Because that's another thing. Batman has another dream vision where Superman has basically taken control of the planet. And you see the parademons around.
He's got the parademons.
And they basically are like his soldiers. Like they have like little S armbands on and everything, almost like Nazis.
Weird.
And they fucking fly and capture people, and like Superman
They have that
takes
vision,
them.
and then they have like Flash.
Well, Insurrection is
screaming.
like that.
Yeah.
So, but that's what I wonder if they did that. But I'm leaning more towards the fact that they just threw that in there and had no real idea how
I mean,
to
they
pay it
could
off.
have. On a side note, with the Lois scene, I just want to note that cops, so many cops in the general vicinity, and she's screaming, Clark!
So many fucking people, and Batman, and sorry, fuck you, Vern. But in the beginning, Batman on the roof with the parademon. There's a fucking burglar right there, and he goes, Alfred. What the fuck? At least take the guy to the police station first, and then when you're leaving, be like Alfred. So people just don't give a fuck about their secret identities anymore.
That's what I was going to ask you. Like, was their secret identity blown in Batman versus Superman, or what?
No.
I mean, does he go, "I am Iron Man" at the end of the movie?
That was, by the way, that was the best sort of I don't give a fuck about a secret identity moment or in a movie. You're just, yeah, I am Iron Man.
But what I was going to tell you was, I think with the Flash movie, I think they're going to go. I thought they were going to go with the Flashpoint.
Okay.
Perspective out of that. So I could have swore I heard they were going to do Flashpoint in the Flash movie.
Yeah, but that when he's in Batman v Superman, that's definitely there's no denying it's a reference to Crisis on Infinite Earths, because that almost a very very similar thing happens, and the first biggest huge crossover event in comics is this huge long storyline called Crisis on Infinite Earths, where it's a crisis on infinite Earths, alternate realities, and that. And Flash has a whole big thing where he
can travel between the different.
Yeah, well, he's essentially running through like time, kind of too, and he warns a couple people of stuff that's happening, and then fades away into non-existence. Spoilers for Crisis on Infinite Earths. But I think it was a big allusion to that, so they could use something like that in the future.
Was that Ezra Miller in Batman vs Superman as Flash also, or was that somebody different?
Yeah, that was him.
That was Ezra Miller? Okay. I couldn't remember if that was him or not. Well, let's keep diving into Justice League here. Steppenwolf, we mentioned him a few times. How do we feel as him as a villain? I know he was supposed to lead to Darkseid, and now who the fuck knows if that's going to happen? They at least alluded to Darkseid.
Yeah, Steppenwolf was basically a taste of what the New Gods are.
It's a little generic.
Now, for people like me and other people who not know what the New Gods are, would you guys care to explain?
Okay, so
In the simplest way possible.
So there's a dude named Jack Kirby
Yes.
who made this whole universe called Fourth World.
Yes.
And on it are a race of essentially super beings called New Gods, and there's Highfather and New Genesis.
Yes.
It's the planet, and those are all kind of like the good guy New Gods.
You're doing better than what I have.
And then you have Darkseid and the Apocalypse people, who are all kind of like just
They're the same race.
evil. Yeah.
They're the same race, and it's kind of like a yin-yang kind of thing. So they were at war until they made this treaty. And Highfather made a treaty with Darkseid, and I think they traded sons.
They swapped sons.
They swapped sons to finalize the treaty. So Darkseid ended up with Apollo.
No, I think Scott-Free. I think Mr. Miracle.
Okay.
And I'm pretty sure Highfather got Orion out of it.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, well, was it Orion. Thank you. Yes, Orion.
But yeah, they're basically a very cosmic group, like a cosmic universe kind of group, and they're all very, very strong in their own individual ways.
Okay.
So usually one of the only people in the DCU that can go against New Gods is Superman.
Okay.
So there's a lot of they're like the big Apocalypse people are usually a pretty high stakes threat, and Steppenwolf, like we said, is kind of like an intro into that.
Yeah, he's like a foot soldier. He's always been kind of like the foot soldier.
Yeah.
Into the.
He's a good branch. Like if Darkseid happens, is just that's your A game. That's world-ending threat for sure there.
Yeah, I mean, at first it's kind of like the Greek gods, but only with like very superior technology.
Okay.
That's the best way I can describe it.
Yeah, that's a good way to say it. It's the too long didn't read version.
The Renotes.
But how did we, again, going back, how did we feel as him as a villain? And he was portrayed by Claren Hines? Is that how you say his name? Or Ciaran Hines? I think that's how you pronounce his name?
I don't know.
Carrion Hines?
I have not seen
Mr. Hines.
It's not a normal name like John or Mark or Mary or something like that. But as far as Steppenwolf as being a villain, I was okay with it. I've always liked the New Gods, and I love that he mentioned them and everything else. I was okay with the costume. I'm glad they changed him up and compared to his original.
Yeah, because
his
his original costume is kind of lumberjacky.
Yeah, well, because of his power axe.
Yeah, because he uses a power.
Now I just picture like brawny man coming to lay waste to the Justice League.
He's very like woodsman, and he was okay. He was a little generic, kind of like, but whatever. And yeah, kind of like like the generic villain, like
twisting his mustache.
Yeah, and not the good kind of generic villains like Wonder Woman had. That they were literally like, beautiful villains. I love the villains in Wonder Woman, but. It was a good stepping stone villain.
Yeah, I didn't.
He got the job done. Again, much like my feelings of the whole movie. Not bad, not good either.
Yeah, he was okay. He was, like you said, it was a good stepping stone. If the stepping stone is getting you eventually to Darkseid, I kind of put him on the same level as what the fuck was his name? The villain from the first Guardians movie.
Ronan.
Ronan. Was it Ronan. Yeah, I kind of put him on that level. Nothing really special. I mean, he looked cool. I loved his voice.
Played by Lee Pace from Pushing Daisies.
Yeah, did Ronan.
Which I'm still pissed off they canceled that show.
But I love Steppenwolf's voice. I like the guy who played him. But like you guys said, nothing really special that stood out that made him a little more memorable than anything else.
It's just a lackey. That's all he played.
Yeah, and for that he did a pretty good job. I thought the way he had to bite the dust at the end was really sort of stupid and silly. Like, all of a sudden, the parademons that he once controlled are now coming after him.
Punched him a bunch, and now he's afraid. Oh no, here comes parademon.
No!
Oh, boom tooth!
I thought that was really, really weak. Now, he's not dead, but he just teleported back.
And lost his helmet.
Yeah, so I mean, he'll probably get a good shellacking from Darkseid, I would imagine.
He's gonna punish him by making him dress as a woodsman.
He's gonna punish him by making him watch Batman vs Superman.
Oh, what a hellish!
You watch this.
Right after that, you watch Geely, and you will love it. And speaking of wherever Steppenwolf was doing all his crazy shit. And I don't give a fuck, Stan Russia. Do we want to even talk about the Russian family? Does anybody even give a fuck about the Russian family?
Yeah. They were there as like...
They were there for the heroes
like
to save.
Yeah. They seemed like a Chekhov's gun that was literally nothing paying off.
Yeah, but I mean, like, they could have still just shown up at the very end and still had the same impact.
Yeah.
I didn't give a fuck about them throughout the movie.
They felt the need to introduce them early.
Yeah. And like the bug spray thing, like did it work? We don't know. Maybe it did because they didn't come back. They were still there.
See, I thought it was going to be up to a point where the parademons was going to grab the Russian families and turn them into other parademons.
Yes, that's what I thought. And then maybe the heroes would save them at the end or something like that. Or the father would be forced into combat because we saw how Steppenwolf with his power. In the beginning, when they were doing the flashbacks, how he was turning regular people into the parademons, into his minions, and I thought that was going to happen with some of the Amazonians on what's the name of the island again? Themyscira. I thought that was going to happen there. I thought that was going to happen with some in Russia, Stan, and it didn't happen. It was such an underwhelming thing that I was like, oh man, that would have made the villain more memorable, but instead it's like, oh, you all will learn to love me, or not, I'm just gonna go away. That's cool.
I did not like the mother boxes, by the way, either.
They were so MacGuffin.
They look like the cube from Transformers. That's how bad it was. I'm just like, really, we couldn't figure out a different design.
Quick, push the mother box into my chest.
And they started. They had like an interesting design originally when you saw them, and then you find out, no, that's just the box that's containing the box. And no, they're just kind of
Inception, box within a box.
They're just kind of like cubes with glowy hash marks on them.
I would love to see some Kirby work into the box instead of these big bulky little box things.
Exactly.
The Nintendo character Kirby.
No.
No, Jack Kirby had a very distinct style with the cosmic stuff, and what Vern's basically saying was just essentially take his style and make them look like that.
Give the man some credit.
Yeah. I was a little happy when I saw his name at least come up on the credits.
Am I the only one that has now noticed that with every fucking Superman movie that comes out, it's about real estate, more or less?
Hey,
ever since Superman Returns, we gotta get more land. Let's build this Kryptonian island. Real estate. Man of Steel.
Earth is the place to be.
Whatchamacallit? They tried to terraform Earth into Krypton. Real estate. I guess Batman vs Superman, it wasn't so much about it because it was about But I mean, I guess it was kind of real estate because they were fighting over.
Yeah, I mean, it was really a bidding war.
It was like, oh, you control your land, I control mine. This town ain't big enough for the both of us. Real estate. Justice League. We're going to terraform Earth into apocalypse. Fucking real estate.
I thought you were just going to talk about them selling Clark Kent's house.
Oh my God.
I thought that was leading to a very subtle real estate joke.
But again, another thing about real estate. Can we just move away from...
Even the old Superman movies, Lex Luthor was all about, like...
Yeah,
real estate.
I get it.
Getting Australia for real estate. Or something like that. Or busting off California so they can
get more beachfront property. But I get it. I fucking get the whole real... It's been every fucking movie.
What a good theme this is. I could only hope that this continues.
It's like a writer sitting around the table. What can we do next for the thing? We're going to have Brainiac show up. What can he do? Well, maybe he rents a condo.
Well, with Brainiac, it is real estate because he does take cities.
He just starts flipping
God
houses.
damn it.
He does bottle cities. I'm just letting you know. Shrinks them down.
Just a heads up. Bottle city of Canada.
So that's going to happen, and I got to be honest. I'm going to be disappointed if that doesn't happen in the movie.
Now I am too. Vern's got me sold.
Oh, fuck the real estate game. Fuck it.
That's his thing.
Fuck it in its ass. But going back to that was another stupid thing in Justice League. Why?
There were a lot of dumb things in Justice League.
But the whole thing about her farm being stolen, or stolen. I can't even talk anymore. Real estate on the brain. But her property being sold, only to have it rebought at the end of the movie, repurchased for her by Bruce Wayne. The fuck? Why didn't she just do that in the beginning? Hello, you're the still living Martha. She could have called him up. Hey, I'm the still alive Martha. Remember, I'm the mother of the son that you now want to blow. Hey, my property's about to foreclose. Would you mind just throwing me a couple dollars? Guilt.
What a line performance. I bought the bank.
I did like the one scene where he gets into the car and you see Barry eating the pizza as he gets into this very expensive car, and he's like, "Well, what's your superpower?" And he's like, "I'm rich."
Something about it though, I don't know. Maybe you guys. I don't know if you guys felt it too. It kind of felt like they were trying to turn Bruce Wayne a little bit into Tony Stark.
They made him
very quippy.
It was again that like there was that up and down. Either he was really dark and broody, or he was making like these little like.
He kind of is. I mean,
yeah.
With DC and Marvel, they're basically two sides of the same coin.
You do have a lot of parallel characters.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Especially one called Captain Marvel.
There's literally a Captain Marvel in both of the universes.
No, well, they're making...
One's a woman and one's called Shazam.
Yeah, they are making an actual Shazam movie.
So. Yeah,
making a Captain Marvel movie as well, a Carol Danvers movie.
But yeah, I mean, I understand you're gonna have crossovers and stuff like that. It didn't seem like, again, it seemed like a little bit of a jump to where. Sorry for spitting on you there. It seemed like a little bit of a jump from where Batman was personally or emotionally in this movie from where he was in the last movie, and even how he was presented in the Nolan movies. Now, in the Nolan movies, he was just an emo bitch. That's all I'll say. I mean, he sat around complaining about Rachel most of the time. Whatever, fine.
Rachel.
I want to ask Todd this question because you're a comic book guy like I am.
Yeah.
And
I'll just fade away. Fade away into the mist.
Go back into your coffin. Are we not getting new heroes in the regular comic books because of what's going on with television?
I don't know.
And
I'm a little behind on my
cinematic.
comics lately, but
Because I know there's like the whole war between Fox and Disney.
Oh yeah, with like the Fantastic Four
Yeah.
and X-Men and stuff like that.
And-
There is, I think, a correlation between that. I think they're taking away like the Fantastic Four because they want Fantastic Four back, and any exposure they get in the comics makes people want to see a movie.
Because I'm thinking this for both DC and Marvel. Because I remember, and getting back to Marvel, even though we're talking about Justice League, the fact that they made an Inhumans TV show, I think they made it to give the people ideas of what Inhumans are.
Yeah, and they needed to build those up. They wanted to make the Inhumans the new X-Men.
Yeah.
So people weren't so infused with the X-Men in the comics and in the movies, and so again they can get the rights back to X-Men.
Which also, that New Mutants movie coming out?
Yeah, the trailer for that is really.
Yeah, it made essentially a
It
horror movie.
looks like a horror
And
movie.
I'm really intrigued of what direction they're going to go with it. So because I know two of the characters are kind of like their powers are that freaky.
It's like Wolfsbane. And
Yeah, they got Wolfsbane and Elena and the Moonstar who can like. I think Moonstar was like she could actually tell when you're gonna die or something like that.
What a horrific power. What's your superpower? Well, you're gonna die in
She's essentially
4 months and 2 days.
She's the death clock.
You have some terrible death clock websites as a human being.
Well, before we completely wrap up our little Justice League powwow here, let's talk about the very last scene of the movie. Well, let's talk about the final two. We'll talk about the mid-credit scene first, and that was the beginnings of the ultimate race to determine who is the fastest on Earth between Flash and Superman.
Debate.
See, I like that.
I thought it was
nice
kind of
shout-out.
fun. Yeah.
And it was a fun way to do it, where Superman's like, "Hey, Batman said you're gonna have to buy brunch," and
Yeah.
earlier in the film, the Flash is like got social anxiety about brunch. But it's a cute way to do that because it's a famous comic.
It's
That and it's just a cute little thing between of everyone always debating
That's
who's
classic.
faster, the Flash or Superman. So it was harmless. It was cute. It was a good scene overall.
Yeah, just gonna say the only thing that I really didn't like about it was the way they kind of made Flash run. Looked really fucking goofy. Looked like he was on a Nordic track. I mean, but no, I like that scene. So all right, nothing really bothered anybody there. Let's move on to the end post-credits scene, where we have Lex Luthor appearing on a yacht with Deathstroke. And he more or less says, hey, the Super Friends are together forming their own league. What if we form a league of our own? And no, he's not talking about the Gina Davis, Tom Hanks movie. Come on, laugh.
This used to be my playground.
There's no crying in baseball. He's obviously alluding to the Legion forming.
Legion of Doom.
Now I've heard it called the Injustice League. Yeah. I hope to God they don't embrace the camp, embrace it, and call yourselves the Legion of Doom. It has to be. But my chief problem with that scene is how the fuck did Lex Luthor get out of prison?
Another bald man.
It's Arkham Asylum. Everybody's breaking out of there.
They might as well just have a revolving door.
I mean, hell,
Just right in the cell. Welcome in. Okay, bye-bye.
look how many times Joker was breaking out. I think sometimes it's just his home away from home, like a summer cabin or something
Goes
like
there for
that.
downtime.
Summer retreat. But I mean, seriously though, that was the only thing that Lex Luthor didn't have any superpower. He didn't have anything. He didn't even have access to money to get out of there.
I was about to say,
he
but
just
like-
he pulled the old switcheroo, which is that's so cliche and fucking stupid.
Someday he will be president.
Well, it's Donald Trump.
Jesse Eisenberg is the president.
But I mean, that was it. It took me out of that because I was like, wait, how the fuck did he get out? Like, a little bit goes a long way. Just a little bit of a setup. They could have even set that up in the movie. Hey, Lex Luthor busted out. They didn't even fucking allude to that. Or, you know what I mean? Or something. And it would have made perfect sense as to why he's sitting on a boat at the end of the movie. But I do like them referencing that they're going to start maybe getting together their own team of villains. Who knows if they will now, because this movie is fucking tanking faster than the Browns are right now.
What I thought, because I saw that, it was interesting because I saw, the boat going up, and immediately I was like, holy shit, is that Deathstroke the Terminator? Because I'm that kind of nerd. Mm-hmm.
And he did look cool as Deathstroke too.
He did.
Yeah.
And so like he gets on, and Jesse Eisenberg is himself, and I think we should do this, and it was kind of a cool thing, and I'm like, the only thing I thought of was it's a little bizarre as you have this like new god threat in this movie, and then you're gonna have a bunch of villains, a handful of villains in the next one, and
didn't even think about that
they
until
go
now.
into dark side. Like you essentially
You set up this massive threat, and then all of a sudden it's like, yeah, we're gonna bring it here.
Like, let's shoot up to like a 7 and then go down to like a 5 or something like that. And it would be cool to see all these like villains team up. Like, don't get me wrong about that. It just seems like
And what villains would you pick?
Yeah, I mean, I guess of established ones, we got like the Joker. You could put in there Jared Leto.
Cheetah.
Because she was mentioned in Wonder Woman, I believe.
Cheetah? Really?
Yeah, I think she was mentioned at the end, towards the end.
So like you have them. You got a couple. Even with the movies they're building up, maybe you could have Black Manta on there. That would be cool.
Could bring in Sinestro.
Yeah, you could, depending on who you have in the Flash movie, Reverse Flash.
They'll probably use Ocean Master before they use Black Manta.
Oh, that'd be such a shame. Black Manta's such a fantastic character.
And see, and this goes right back though to what I was saying before about poor DC planning. I think the logical step would have been to go
with the cosmic stuff.
Well, they should have done the Legion of Doom first. And then maybe that's what the Legion of Doom was after. You could have done Legion of Doom and the formation of the Justice League together, because the Legion of Doom are going after these things called mother boxes, and they don't know what the ramifications of what bringing these three together could mean. Then you could have opened up Steppenwolf coming down, because he's like, oh, they found him, and then he could have come to get them. And then you could have bring in Darkseid and all this. It just seems like they're going like 2 steps forward, 1 step back, or you know what I mean? Like one step forward, 2 steps back. It just seems very
an escalation and then a decline in threat almost.
Yeah,
and then like if they bring in Darkseid, it's like crank it straight back up to like 11 again.
Yeah, because in the Superman cartoons, what was the criminal organization? That they had, because Steppenwolf was like contributing like technology to them.
I can't remember.
Over gang something. It was something gang.
Yeah, I don't remember. Yeah, it was something like that. Yeah. Oh, that's gonna kill me.
but that would have been a great way.
That would have been perfect.
That just goes right along with how you have Marvel, what they're doing, where they didn't shoot the wad right off the bat with the Infinity Stones. They slowly built each one of those up to where now you have Thanos, who's like, I'm here to collect, motherfuckers, with that trailer we saw the other day. And they could have done the same thing with the mother boxes and slowly built those up to where each movie is a new level of threat until you eventually get to Darkseid, who shows up.
Yeah, because I like your version better, because even they always kind of scout the planets before they end up destroying them, and they always turn the people against them, and they always use G. Gordon Godfrey to turn the public against the hero.
Mess with the people.
Yeah.
So There we go. We just wrote a better movie for DC. DC, if you want to get in touch with us, you can get in touch with us at Cosmic Octopus.
I could really use the money.
Yeah. we could all throw us a friggin' bone here. We could all use the money. Shit, I'll even take just $20,000. That's probably far less than what you pay anybody else.
I want a 1998 Plymouth Prowler, purple.
Just put my name in the credits next to Jack.
I want to wear the bat suit.
I'm just happy to be
I
here.
want to wear the bats. Oh, screw that. I want the Batmobile for a day.
Which Batmobile? If you each could get one, would you take the original from the TV show? Would you take? I mean, you can't use the cartoon; it's a cartoon. But would you?
We're putting rules on this.
Yes, we are.
You don't know us.
Todd, this is not Nam. There are rules. Would you go TV show? Would you take one from any of the movies?
Ooh, it's tough. I'd either go because I do like the one from the Adam West show. That's awesome. I like it'd be a toss up between that and the original Burton movie. The modified Corvette was rad.
Yes.
Yeah, they're.
I think I'd have to go either that one, or I've always had a love of the one from Batman Forever, just the look of it. Even though it still had the neon stuff on there. It wasn't as gaudy as the one from Batman and Robin, where it looked like a fucking traveling dubstep show.
Shaky webby stuff on it.
Can we have maybe the Lego Batmobile?
Lego Batmobile.
Interesting that nobody says the tumbler here. The tumbler is one of I didn't mind the design, and that's where I liked it in Batman Begins. I thought it's the prototype Batmobile, and I thought in The Dark Knight he was gonna add extra stuff to it, make it look more like Batman-y. And no, it's still the same fucking tumbler. I thought that was a letdown. I'm like, oh, come on.
The Bat Tank.
And then we get fucking extra tumblers and tumblers galore. Tumbler, and Dark Knight Rises.
I kind of like the bike after the tumbler.
The pod.
The Bat Pod?
Yeah.
I don't like to kill people, but I'll blow up a whole fucking bunch of cars. Hope nobody's sitting in them.
There goes, who gets the insurance for that?
Alfred.
It's like, how do you explain your insurance?
We had a joke for the longest time of Superman insurance. It's just standard for people in Metropolis when Superman's just like smashing through buildings.
Because I think
Alfred, pick up my tab.
Was it in Spider-Man or was it in one of the Iron Mans where they actually acknowledged damage control?
I don't know. What was that in? It sounds like an Iron Man.
I was going to say, it sounds something like Iron Man.
Because they were supposed to be the people who fixed the problems that the heroes caused.
Iron Man, it was S.H.I.E.L.D. It was when Coulson came in as S.H.I.E.L.D.
In the beginning of Spider-Man Homecoming, they have them collecting up bits from like the alien invasion.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. You're right.
Spoilers for Spider-Man Homecoming.
All right, well, I think that about wraps up our Justice League discussion here. If you agree with us or disagree with us, comment down in the comment section below the video. If you disagree with us, please be gentle.
It's our first time.
Yeah.
No, actually, it's our second.
It's our second time. We're still tender. But yeah, hit the like and subscribe button, and we should be doing another one of these soon, hopefully after
Star Wars.
Yeah, Star Wars should be coming out in a couple weeks here, because there's nothing between now and then, unless you guys want to get together.
Pitch Perfect 3.
Pitch Perfect 3, or
Sign me up.
no, next week. Next week is Disaster Artist.
Disaster Art. Oh, I am so looking forward to Disaster Art.
That's the one about the movie The Room.
The movie The Room, and
Oh my god.
Tommy Wiseau.
I've heard nothing but good things so far about this flick too.
I have to see The Room in order to see The Room first before I see.
And
If you don't see it, at least just find reviews of it online. Go watch John.
I already know the reviews.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
The Room in itself is a beautiful train wreck. It is one of the best good bad movies. It's wonderful.
I think we should do one for disaster.
I would totally be up to talk about
I think if we do it, we should do it right after we see it. So we should actually come back here and just sit down and just discuss what we just got done seeing.
I'm up for that.
So hopefully I can get that Friday off. I'll actually ask for it. But yeah, I'll say it again. We're out of here until next time, which hopefully will be Disaster Artist. If it's not Disaster Artist, it'll more than likely be Star Wars. I know I'll be on vacation after that movie opens, so the review probably won't come out for like another week after the movie opens.
Damn
but
you.
Damn you.
How dare you go on vacation?
But it'll give me a chance to see it, let it sink in. I may see it again then once I come back from vacation just to get refreshed on it. And yeah, so signing off here, I'm DJ.
I'm Vern.
I'm Todd.
And we will catch you on the next episode of Real Rants.